Hi and welcome back to Garden Ninja for the September garden tour here at Garden Ninja HQ. And I'm going to be showing you all the things I'm doing as we head into autumn here in my own garden. So grab yourself a scarf and let's get cracking. If you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit the red button to subscribe today. Also click the bell for notifications. We'll have access to hundreds of garden design hints, tips and hacks from me, the Garden Ninja. And best of all, it's free. Succession planting is where you plan your garden borders so that as one flower finishes, something else takes its place. And this is a really good example behind me, something that's working really well now in September when most herbaceous perennials and shrubs have kind of done their thing and are ready to overwinter. And it's these, the Rudbeckia. They give you like the late September bright yellow pop of colour, the final finale before we head into winter. And I've pretty much planned this entire garden based on succession planting. So other than a couple of weeks here and there, the garden always has something going on dependent on which week of the year you're looking at it. So if you're planning your own garden, then a top tip from me is to get a spreadsheet and list each month in the vertical columns and then your plants running down the other axis. And then mark on when those plants are either flowering or doing something or when they drop the leaves. And you'll be able to see then gaps as to where you might need other plants to help succession plant. I'd love to hear from you if you've succession planted, because a lot of people seem timid or frightened of it. So let me know in the comments below, because I may actually do a full video on it if it's of use to you. But I think you'll agree, these look absolutely gorgeous. Earlier on this year, me and Barry decided to undertake an experiment and plant this, a Gunnera manicata, otherwise known as giant's rhubarb. If you've watched that earlier video, you'll have seen that it was about this big, and I did preempt you all by saying it'll probably take a few years to put much growth on. However, it's gone bonkers. And if you look down into the centre, you can see the crown is really forming, and I think it might even be trying to send out a flower, though it's a bit late in the season for that. But take a look inside, you'll see it's put on all this root growth and these huge, really tough and spiny leaves. So I think by next year, it might even get to 1 metre in height looking at the growth. As soon as we get into October, I will cut off these leaves at the base and then layer them on top. Because if that crown gets wet and frosty, it might die. So with a Gunnera, you cut the leaves off when they start to look shabby and turn brown in October and layer them up to protect the crown. What do you think, Baz? Now another job that I've got for September is to start pruning back unruly, scrambling and climbing roses and also wisteria. And now is the perfect time in September to take your wisteria back to 6 buds. And if you've not already watched my video on how to do that, make sure you check it out, because I take you through step by step how to do that. And what that does is it helps encourage buds that will create flowers rather than loads of whippy growth. Next to me, we've got this really vigorous scrambling rose. I'm going to take my secateurs and some string and be quite brutal. I'm going to take back anything that's in my way or that looks really long and dangly, because for next spring I want short, really vigorous bursts of growth. If I leave this throughout the winter, the wind is going to damage it. It will pull it, rock it and cause issue, which we don't want. So with all scrambling and some climbing roses, you can be quite brutal, and September is the time to prune those. For shrub roses, hybrid roses, make sure you do that late winter, not now. And here we have a prime example of a runaway rose. Look at that. You know what I'm going to do? See that thorn there? Just below there. Right, so that's clean. Not going to get damaged. So as you can see, I've taken down anything that's hanging in my way or going to get damaged by the wind. And we've got this really soft arch now I can walk through, and I know during the winter that these climbers are going to be fine. If you want to know more about wisteria and rose pruning, please make sure you check out my specific guides, which will go into loads more detail. But if you've got climbers that are running wayward, now is a good time to tag them up for winter. This year has been an incredible year for fruit trees. I'm not sure whether it's been the bonkers heat wave we had here in the UK, or the fact we've had heat and then rain, heat, drought, rain, that has really sort of stressed them into fruiting. But behind me is my medlar tree, and I planted this about 2 years ago. Now, it was pretty much this size when I planted it. It was a mature tree, really heavy. I'd used it at show gardening and then decided to bring it home. But this year, we've got hundreds of medlars all over it. And this is the first year that I haven't pruned it. Usually I take back this main branch network and clear off all those side shoots, but I was a bit lazy this year and thought, do you know what, I'll leave them and see what happens. And actually it's been a benefit because it's gone nuts. And also over in the orchard we've got hundreds of apples, so let's walk over there and take a look. The mini orchard this year has done incredible. There are only about 5 or 6 trees here. You could fit these into any size garden pretty much. But look, hundreds of apples dotted all around. Now I could have thinned the apples out early doors in the year to get bigger apples, but I'll be honest, I was really busy with work and it was one of those jobs that just didn't get done. However, we've still got some really nice sized fruit here. And I'm thinking of making a few apple crumbles, maybe some apple gin and vodka, because I've got more than I'm ever going to be able to eat. But it just shows you how much fruit you can grow just off one tree, especially if you follow my pruning guide. So if you've not already considered pruning the fruit trees, both in late summer and in winter, then make sure you check that out, because it will help encourage them to put on loads of fruit and be really fuss free. If, however, you've got loads of low-hanging branches and stems or branches that are in the way, now is the perfect time to prune them back. And by pruning them back at this time of the year, it forms formative pruning rather than maintenance, meaning there's less chance of them growing back. Whereas when you prune in the winter, you're encouraging growth. Pruning at this time of year restricts growth. So anything that shouldn't be there, if you take it off, then you can help create a formative pruning shape to your fruit trees and other deciduous trees. The only exception is the pruners family. Don't prune those now, wait until next spring. I've been keeping bees here at Garden Ninja HQ for the last 2 months, and it really has changed my perspective on gardening. Not only have I become really obsessed with bees in general, but I've managed to see thousands of my own honeybees all around the herbaceous perennials, in the trees, on flowers, busily working away. And in my journey to become a beekeeper and all the study that I've done, you really get to understand how the seasons work. You really get to learn how that plants and nature sustain bees, whilst bees also sustain plants and nature. And without bees, we wouldn't have things like crops or vegetables, because they are one of the main pollinating insects that helps us to create beautiful food and produce in the UK. And without them, there probably wouldn't be any of that. Now, I'm still very much a beginner beekeeper, but I'm really loving learning. The only issue is last week I got stung, and it's my own fault. I decided to try and feed them without wearing a suit because I was in a rush. I annoyed the bees by moving my hands too quickly over them, and one of them stung me. So a lesson learnt for me. But I'd like to start to introduce the bees into these videos more frequently, and if I can with the camera and my bee suit, show you some of the internal workings of the hive. But it's absolutely fascinating opening them up, seeing them working, seeing the baby bees being born, the queen scurrying around laying eggs. If you've got the space, I would highly recommend going on a beekeeping course and seeing if you too can help Mother Nature by keeping bees. September has also been the month to make some changes and tweaks to the meadow. And I've been busy strimming away this month. I'm halfway through, but have a look at that. It's a bit different, isn't it? Now, if you've watched my meadow guide, you'll know that we mow or trim the meadow 3 times a year. Once in early spring, once in September, and then again late October. But I'm going to be adding a few more plants into this meadow this year to help combat some other grasses and also bring a little spice to the garden. Now, one of the new additions to the meadow are going to be these meadow sweet. Now, they're often considered to be a bit of a weed here in the UK, found on verges, but believe it or not, this plant has gorgeous little flowers that you can eat. And I had some in a restaurant a while back, in a foraging restaurant, so I thought, well, why don't I order some like this and plant these 20 throughout the meadow, and then next year I can harvest the flowers late summer and enjoy them on ice cream or dessert. So this is going to be a new addition, which is just going to increase the diversity in this meadow and give loads of gorgeous white little flowers, both for my bees and other insects to forage on and take the nectar from. Barry seems pretty chuffed, he's already running to position them. So yeah, I'm going to plop these in, they're going to overwinter, and then next year they'll put on the growth and add a valuable addition to this meadow. So we're going to grab one of these little plug plants, and you can see how deep the roots go, beautiful roots. Give them a bit of a tease, and then I've basically just created a slit that I'm going to pop these into. And there's 20 of them, and I'm going to bury them quite deep because they do have a deep rootstock, meadow sweets. So push that really far in, give it a good squidge, and I'll give that a water. So I'm planting these in September, it's autumn, so that they can overwinter and then start to colonise next year. You can plant them in spring or grow them from seeds yourself, but I've decided to buy these plugs just because they're already established, they've got a really nice juicy root. It's just to save me a bit of time. There's 20 of them, and I'm going to pop them along the meadow, and then next year they will add to that beautiful diversity. Have you got gardening questions that you need answers for? Well, why not head over to the Garden Ninja forum on my blog, where you can ask me anything about gardens, plants and garden design. There's a whole army of other garden ninjas there that can help provide answers to your questions. It's a really great way to meet the other ninjas, so head over there now. So there we go, the end of the September tour here at Garden Ninja HQ. And now really is the time to make any of those last minute tweaks or adjustments to the garden, tidy up your climbers, make sure you get all your plants in before the winter. If you've liked this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you can hit the button below to subscribe and the bell for notifications. And make sure you check out my other hundreds of garden design hints, tips and hacks to help you make your gardens awesome. I've been Garden Ninja, happy gardening.